Hi everyone, I am Dr. Michelle Mars. I'm your lecturer for this subject this trimester, and I just thought I'd send you a quick welcome message. So hello and welcome, and do an introduction to the course, and also set you up for week two's first assessment, which is the discussion forum. So I'm going to share my screen with you. If we just hang on, give me a moment. Yes. And let's start from the beginning of the slideshow here. Okay, so this is the Golden Age, leisure lifestyle and fulfilling lives for older people. I'm Dr. Michelle Mars. I work at JNI. I have worked for Torrens JNI, I think, since 2016, so for about 2.5, coming up for 3 years now. I may have seen some of you in some of the other subjects that I've taught previously. Probably if you have taken COU 101A or COU 102A online, then you've definitely met me before, and I've definitely met you before. Otherwise, hello, welcome to the course. I've been an academic most of my life. I used to work at Massey University in New Zealand, did a brief stint for Victoria University in New Zealand. I have also worked for Endeavour College of Natural Health in Australia. I've worked as a health researcher as well. And at the moment I am working at JNI. So hello and welcome. Very pleased to be here. I hope you are too. This is the first time that I've taught this course. It's looking really interesting. I've had a read through it and started preparing my resources. There's a new textbook which I've put the first chapter that I'd like you to read online in the Padlet, which is that little bright thing at the bottom of week 1. So if you just click on that, you can download the first reading that I'd like you to consider from there. In the future, I'd like you to go to the library and download this for yourself. So it is an ebook, you don't have to buy it, yay. And if you have any trouble, please get in contact with the librarian. If you don't have the librarian's contact details, I can give them to you. And if you'd like to be in contact with me, there's only 7 of us. I don't know how that's going to work in terms of doing online things together. It'd be great if we could all get together at the same time. If we can't, we'll have to make some kind of other plan for how we work together in this course. But each week you will need to contribute to the discussion forums. And I like in my classes to get a little bit ahead. So you're actually working a week ahead. It kind of means that when you get to the end of trimester and everything's on top of you, at least your discussion forums are all done and out of the way. So you're welcome to start on week 2's discussion forum now if you like, but definitely by next Wednesday, so the second week of trimester, try and get something in there by then. If we all get something in, then we can start having a discussion and it kind of works properly, whereas otherwise you're just sticking something in there to get a grade and it doesn't work so well. So let's all try and work together in this subject. So I can telephone you, I will email you, you can text me, whatever works for you in terms of getting in contact with me. One thing I don't want you to do in this course is go, I can't do it, or to get to the stage where you're really stuck on something that you don't understand. Often you'll find even the process of asking me the question will help to unlock things in your head, and I'm more than happy to help you also if you get stuck. Okay, so first of all, what is this course about? Let's get rid of this because it's kind of in the way. What is this course about? So this course is called The Golden Age, and really it is a course about positive aging. So how do we use our skills and the things that we know to help people plan for like retirement or older age, whatever we consider to be older age. And what actually is the Golden Age is the first thing I wanted to talk about. So the Golden Age is the title of the course. Maybe we should change it to positive aging. I don't know, I think that's a bit more contemporary, but at the moment it's called the Golden Age. But the Golden Age is a really good historical kind of framework and a good way for us to think about aging, because what is age and what is aging? So what it means to age has stayed fairly consistent throughout history. There's been a consistent distinction throughout history between younger age on one hand and older age on the other. So where that actual age is in terms of chronological age has changed over time, and also the way we conceptualise that has also changed over time. So throughout history, it's seen either as a period of decline or as a period of, a renewed contribution, wiseness, being able to contribute back to society. But there is a fairly consistent theme throughout history that old age begins around 60. I mean, currently we've got our retirement age set at about 65. And it's slowly, or it has been for a very long time, it's slowly increasing because age is increasing, so people actually need to stay functionally part of the workforce for longer, is one of the reasons. And another reason is that people do generally tend to be in better health. Definitions of ageing have been consistently sexist throughout time as well. So women have seemed to be consistently seem to be ageing more rapidly than men. But in terms of what it means to be old, it's like we've had some revolutionary times in human history. And one of those times of revolution was the Renaissance. So a lot of things changed in the Renaissance. There was a lot of technological innovation. And one of the reasons that it was such a period of rapid change is the invention of the eyeglasses or the eyeglasses. So what the eyeglasses meant was, when your eyesight naturally starts to decline, which is generally around your 40s, unless you happen to be short-sighted like me, which is great for the first time in my life. When you started to lose your eyesight, you could then, as a scientist, particularly as a thinker, it was much more difficult to contribute and stay current in society. So what happened during the Renaissance with the invention of the eyeglasses is that people could then contribute for longer, and so that contributed also to the technological revolution at the time. So in earlier history, there was more emphasis placed on factors internal to the person which determined whether they got old. So it was about their ability to function in society. So glasses, because it was more internal to the person, glasses meant that you were no longer old because you could still see. And had the ability to perform those tasks that you could do at a younger age. But as we've kind of moved more into modern times, government and economic definitions have had more of an impact on how what we view as old age. So from about, I think the late 1890s in New Zealand, because I'm a New Zealander, and probably shortly afterwards in Australia, we've had old age pensions and a definition of what it meant to be old, and the government kind of taking some responsibility for that. In New Zealand, I'm going to talk about what I know about. In New Zealand, it was because we'd had a lot of people kind of coming from in the 1840s and 1850s, 1860s coming to New Zealand, who had broken the land and contributed to New Zealand society. And often these people didn't have wives and families because there was a lack of women in New Zealand at that time. So the New Zealand government put this policy into place because there were a lot of swag men, which you also have in Australia, walking around with swags on their backs, and a lot of people sick and dying because they had no one to look after them. So the government came into being. That's not so good. My yoga is flicked up onto the screen. So the government brought some policies into being that looked after or provided for old people. There was outdoor relief and indoor relief. So outdoor relief was things like giving people food and blankets and things that they could use to look after themselves, and indoor relief was, of course, institutions and things. And this is kind of an outfall from the British poor laws, which were brought into Australia and New Zealand when we were colonised. So yes, it goes from being, so over time, from an antiquity to kind of modern times, it's gone from being about things that are inside the person, like our functionality, our kind of ability to relate to others and that kind of thing, to being more defined by external things like structural things like public policy. Also, when we think about ageing, there are a lot of myths and stereotypes. We'll spend a lot of time, or spend some time in this subject thinking about those and thinking about, you know, how they relate to people's experience of ageing, and how helpful or unhelpful some of those things are. There are also a lot of cultural variations in the world when it comes to ageing today, especially in a lot of Asian cultures. Age is seen to be equated to wisdom. In more Western countries, we might see age being more related to burden, burden on the tax system, burden on children, burden on society. So what's going to happen in the future, I think, is something that's really important for us to think about as well. So how are we going to define, as the world ages, because the demographic profile is aging, the whole world is getting older. So as we age, how are we going to define the beginning of old age? Is this now going to change? Will factors go back to being more internal and not so kind of imposed from the outside? So something for you to think about as we go. Very interesting, I think. Okay, so first of all, one of the first things I think we need to think about is, who are we talking about? So it's 2019. If we're talking about old age, and old age is defined as over 65. What kind of age are we talking about? Okay, this slide is I'm just going to stop this for a second and have a look, because this slide has got some information on it. So this is your study guide. If you haven't seen these before, this is your study guide that I'm just clicking through here. So I'm just going to take this and put it into the PowerPoint. Do have a read of the study guides. I'm looking through them at the moment, so and rewriting them a bit. So I will put them up weekly into the discussion forums or something. So use my updated study guide, not the old one that's in this trimester's content. So let's see if we can add this. All right, great. All right, so here we have the actual age of people, which is what I wanted to have a look at, because I think it's really important to know who we are actually talking about. So we're talking about people who are probably baby boomers, so some baby boomers, although I was born in 1964, you can see here, so I was born in 1964, so I don't really know if I really particularly like to think of myself as a baby boomer, but of course I am. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen again. Okay, so hopefully I'm sharing my screen with you again. If not, I'll have to record this again, but that's not so bad. So yeah, who are we talking about? So if we're saying that old age starts around 60, then we're really talking about baby boomers and builders, or the post-war generation. So yes, people like of my age, I guess, are starting to think about retirement and about what it means to be old. I certainly know that on Facebook I get lots of kind of ads for products for over 65, so some of them not so pleasant, like incontinence pens. Others are things like holidays, and because there's baby boomers have quite a lot of money in some cases. So we're talking about boomers and builders. Generation X, people who are Generation X may be starting to think about what it means for them to be entering old age and maybe preparing for old age. So let's have a look at the next slide, which is our generational profile. So Australia's generational profile. So what we've got here is the population of people in New Zealand, the population in the workforce. Baby boomers, you can see, mostly have university degrees, as does Generation X. Life expectancy, is increasing. Median age of parents. So there's lots of information on this slide for you to have a look at. I'm not going to go through it all now, but it is just interesting to see what is happening for the different generational profiles in Australia today. Okay, so in Australia, like the different kind of demographic profiles that we looked at back here, boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, they are calculated slightly differently in different countries. So let's look in Australia. We look at baby boomers being born from 1946 to 1964. So a lot of baby boomers, or most baby boomers, are in this kind of lucrative lifestyle stage. They have quite a lot of money compared to other generations. And with money comes kind of some power and a desire to make the most out of life. So some recent research that was done in 2012, 75% are trying to live healthily, live a healthier lifestyle, eat and drink responsibly. So what we're seeing in terms of leisure and lifestyle is a lot more leisure activities, a lot of people going on holidays a lot more. Leisure has become the new luxury rather than material goods in Australia, and people are very kind of focused on getting the most out of life. So baby boomers are a very educated population. They are definitely retiring with money and expectations. There's an interest in health and lifestyle. There's capacity still, so, you know, 60 is the new 40, and a desire and an attitude of wanting to get the best out of life, like I said before. There's also technology involved in people's lives now, so that's really empowering and enabling people to make very good kind of purchase decisions and find out information about their health and lifestyle. This is also empowering change. So what are we going to look at in this subject? So this week we've had a little look at historical and cultural perspectives of the Golden Age, what I've already just introduced you to. We're going to have a look at politics and policy next, which, as I was saying before, is the kind of the move to external factors. We're going to look at that period of transition to the Golden Age. So what happens to people as they go from having long time working careers to no longer working. And also, of course, we know that people are actually continuing to work into older age and thinking about it earlier as well. We're going to introduce you to the science of gerontology, which is an interesting field, which some of you may be interested in pursuing later in your careers. As you are taking the subject in your elective now, that may be the case. We're going to look at health, ageing and age-related disabilities, and I've already talked about one of them today, which is, you know, your eyesight, related to your eyesight. We're going to look at ageing bodies and ageing minds, so health and mental health. We're going to look at creating some empathies for older people, so how do we do that? We are going to look at re-enablement of elders, so how do we get people kind of back on the horse, and I suppose is a good analogy, isn't it? So how do we get people kind of back out there and connecting with society and feeling better about themselves as well? We're going to look at needs, priorities and choices of old elders. We're going to look at counselling and coaching of elders. So what are the particular skills that you might need when you counsel elders? And of course, one of the key things for working with older people is empowerment. So everything we need to do there needs to be very much person-centred and coming from what they want and working with what they want with their own personal resources that they already have. In terms of family or, you know, knowing some breathing exercises or being interested in music and those kinds of things. So building on those. And we're also going to look at exploring diversity in old age, because of course old age, and we'll definitely know this by the time we get to the end of the course, is not the same thing for everybody in at every point of time in every culture, etc., etc. And section 12. of course, it's just revision. So let's start off with a bang. Let's get going for week 2 so that we're a bit ahead of the game. And this subject, if we do this with this subject, it gives you more space for your other subjects as we go along. So let's get started. So let's get ahead so we don't get behind. So this is based on your reading, which if you click on it in the Padlet is from your textbook. So that's one I'd like to emphasis to put you a bit of emphasis on this week. So we are living longer and better health. So when did we first begin to realise that living longer had an impact on our health? That doesn't sound right to me. If you just bear with me for a minute, I'm going to have a look at this, because it must be from the beginning here. So you see, this is, I've just clicked into the Padlet, and this chapter has just downloaded. So if you double click into the Padlet in the first place and look in here, you can see, okay, so I know that the word that I'm looking for is recreation, but let's just open this here. This is what a Padlet is. And this is your textbook as well. This is great. I actually wanted to show you this. So this is your textbook. We are currently in the library database. I've downloaded the PDF of the book. So it's an ebook, 2016. And then you can save the search, so it's there for you. Or you can then go into the book and you can have a look at the full text, which I'll just do here. Hopefully this is recording and you can see it. Oops. Here it goes. And if you just click on chapter 1, if you just click on chapter 1, damn. Okay, so it's not working right now. But if you click on the chapter, okay, I understand. I've expired. So you log in with your normal, as I'm sure you know, with your normal email address. Okay, I'm just going to leave that for a minute. Unfortunately, never mind. Okay, so we're living longer in better health. When did we first realise this? That leisure and lifestyle and recreation had an impact on this. That's in the first part of the assignment. Sorry, that's in the first part of the chapter that you're reading. Also, successful aging is linked to well-being. This is on page 3. So I'd like you to think at this point in the course, write down, what does successful aging mean to you? It's really interesting to think about this and to also consider at the end of the course if your idea of what successful aging means might have changed. Another thing that is addressed in this article is the idea of balance. So why is balance so important for old people? And yes, I've got, being a bit of a yogi myself, I have put an older-ish person doing a quite complicated yoga pose there. And also, this is something else I've also addressed here. It's like when you're counselling older people, when you're coaching older people, when you're working with older people, why is it so important to engage an older person when you're planning an activity? So why do you need to engage the person to be person-centered, do things from their perspective? And how would you do this in terms of your particular interest or where you see yourself coming from when you go out into the world and start working with older people? Okay, so hopefully this is a good introduction to the course and that you've got a little bit more of an idea of what we're going to do in the course. I look forward to working with you. I will put all my contact details up for you, and take care and see you again soon.